You like Dante? You must be boring. You like Ryuki? Guess you think very highly of yourself. You like Yang? You must be a psychopath. No, I can't put you into a box that easily, but let me try. Or at least, let research try. In the video about parasocial relationships, I already tried to explain why you tend to form a relationship with fictional characters. But we haven't explored what your game of choice or choice of favorite character says about you. We have established in that video that you tend to form a parasocial relationship with a character if he's realistic, minus the suspension of disbelief, and attractive. And you can judge them like you would evaluate real people. Does that mean you will like the same characters in-game as in real life? For some people that might be true, for others... not so much. So there must be other components that influence your favorite 2D husbando, and one of them might be your very unique personality. Personality is a very complex concept in psychology and not easy to grasp and can be difficult to differentiate from situational factors like mood. So for the sake of this video, I'll either refer to singular personality traits or the big 5 personality traits: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Let's start with your favorite game. We all play games in order for them to fulfill our psychological needs. That can be belonging, cooperation, curiosity, novelty seeking, and depending on how strong these needs are, we choose our favorite games. For example, if your extroversion is high, meaning engaging with people gives you energy, you are more likely to pick a game with social aspects like competition or that is more action-oriented and gives you a kick. If you are a very conscientious person, meaning you are careful and diligent, want to do your work thoroughly and well, you might like games like Fire Emblem, where you can strategize and plan ahead or play for completion or power. When you are a very open person, you focus on games where you can live your creativity, like Animal Crossing, or spend 2 hours in the character creation screen. Or you might focus on immersive games that are story-driven and appeal to your fantasy. This is where we are, in the lovely realm of the story-driven Otome games. If you are agreeable, that means you value social harmony and neglect your own interest if you can help others out. Neuroticism means you are sensitive to negative emotions and have problems dealing with stress. These 2 traits weren't found to significantly correlate with game preference, so I won't speculate about them any further. Why do I tell you this? Because on the one hand, the pure reason you're watching this video also reveals part of your personality, and on the other hand, there's little to no research to attraction to video game characters. So I have to apply findings about video games and other media on our 2D man. So keep in mind that this video, in contrast to the others, is quite speculative. There are 2 approaches on how video games fulfill our psychological needs. Either you treat games as an escapist fantasy to do and experience things you wouldn't in your real life, or think of them as identity management, rather complementing and forming your identity than opposing it. As you might have recognized concerning which games we like to play, this choice seems to align with our personality. Likewise, in real life, research considers that you are more likely to stay in a relationship with someone who is similar to you, rather than with a total opposite of you. But what about the choice of characters? I think in this regard, both approaches could be true. In Otome games, you can experience a perfect relationship like you wished it to be, or on the other hand, choose the most toxic bachelor you can find and play with fire, without ever burning your fingers. There are a few important aspects that make us prefer a character. His ethics, is he good or bad? His aesthetics, is he hot? Epistemics, is he realistic? And lastly, how similar do we feel to him? How much are we involved in his story? Although not all characters are tropes or can be easily categorized, more on that in the video about stereotypes in Otome games, we all know the classical tropes like Tsundere, Kuuderes, Yandere, glasses guy, childhood friend, cinnamon roll, bully, you know the drill. So I'll try to match up some of these tropes with structures of entertainment media Renfrew Goldberg Anselka found in 2011, and the big 5 personality traits. Media labeled communal is light-hearted and uncomplicated, but more importantly focus on people and relationships. This section is screaming Otome games, but when it comes to character tropes, I would say the nice childhood friend or cinnamon roll would fit into this category. Following this, if you like either of these personalities or shotas, that means you excel at agreeableness, meaning traits like pleasantness, cooperation, or empathy. You are uncomplicated yourself, friendly, dutiful, and not much of an adventurer. This means you are a highly agreeable person looking out for a wholesome relationship where you care about each other but also would be willing to cure your allies' traumas. The opposite are the dark characters that are edgy and uncanny. If you like dark, forbidden characters that even turn into severe Yanderes, you might focus on hedonism and intensity of feelings. That might also correlate with a low conscientiousness and agreeableness, but high extroversion and high intellect. You might like to go out on adventures on your own, don't care much about teamwork, are rather competitive, similar to the character, and could be described as reckless. In that case, I would also expect you to be open for new experiences. If you like Kuuderes or Megane characters who focus on their cool attitude and intellect, you might be quite sharp yourself, organized and sociable, though when it comes to your work you might prefer working alone. Lastly, a very complicated category the researcher labeled as aesthetic, meaning dense and cultured and demanding media. I think unpredictable and complex characters might fit into this category, whose character is not easily understood, needs some thorough analysis. If you like these complicated characters, you might be calm, analytical and rational, but also creative and quick-witted, and still in touch with your emotions to enable you to understand the emotions of such complex characters, while being open to the unusual traits of them. But what is with the attraction to bad guys? We clearly wouldn't date them in our real life, nor do we feel alike. Or do we? To begin with, players with high loss aversion may find unpredictable characters frustrating or unfair, while players with low loss aversion may find it thrilling. You might also be able to sympathize with bad boys more if you are willing to at least imagine throwing your moral concerns out of the window. Or, God forbid, you actually do like Machiavellistic tendencies. But considering, on top of that we tend to like attractive people, so as long as the bad guy is attractive, you might not care as much about his immoral behavior compared to if he was an appalling Quasimodo. These partly positive evaluations can even lead to a phenomenon called wishful identification. Though you know he's not a good guy, you kind of feel drawn to him. And that leads to you having mixed emotions about a character. And mixed emotions are way more powerful than one-dimensional emotions like sadness or happiness. A bittersweet feeling will haunt you way longer. Remember the last bittersweet ending you've played? That lingered in your heart for longer than the super happy ending? And so does the ambiguous character you don't know whether to hate, love, feel afraid of or attracted to. Because he might still incorporate traits you find attractive, like self-confidence or autonomy, but maybe at such a level you couldn't imagine living in that way yourself. But speaking of autonomy, bad boys might help some girls to escape the good girl syndrome, always being told to be morally impeccable and not do anything wild or forbidden. A bad boy character can either manifest those wishes for freedom or actually change the heroine to a more autonomous version of herself. And as we most likely identify with her, help us feel free too. Another factor for us liking bad boys is the clearly fictional element. He is not that scary because we know he is not real. But if your openness values are high, you might love to experience new stories you wouldn't be able to experience in your real life and therefore prefer scary, dangerous, villain-like characters. But of course, you are not just your favorite Otome game or your favorite husbando. Your personality is way more complex and varied than these broad descriptions, so don't let yourself be put into a box, continue exploring games and with it discover new character traits of yourself. So actually, this video is not so much about telling you who you are, sorry, but an invitation to reflect on your game and character choices and what they tell about your preferences and personality traits. But not only is personality an ever-changing construct, and as much as our personality shapes which games and characters we like, as much do the games and characters we encounter shape how we see ourselves and how we form our identity going on, playing more games and meeting new characters, who are like a mirror to our soul. Though games are every escapist's fantasy to be in a relationship with someone you possibly wouldn't end up with in real life, or in situations you just hope never ever will really happen to you, you still choose your favorite character according to your personality and wishes, to explore being with a bad boy, in a safe space, or just to feel completely loved, teased or praised. In this way, your favorite character might reflect a part of your personality, and upon further thinking about it, even help you discover who you are. If you want to know why you love the character you love and how to deal with parting after you finished the game, this video about parasocial relationships and post-game depression may shed some light on this question.